Historical Society. This is the last of our 2022-2023 presentation season. We have had a great run this year, and we're letting it go with a bang that we got Jen tonight. So I'm very excited about that. I'd like to welcome you all. I'd like to welcome all of our people on Zoom. So hi.
Hi.
Yeah. I'd like to welcome our board members. We have 3 board members in the audience tonight: Sandra Sims, Robin Hart, and Brad Wagenknecht. Thank you for coming. Thank you so much. And I'd just like to thank all of you for being here and sharing in the history of Napa. We try to match our presentations up now that we can be out in public again. We try to match our presentations up with historic venues. So the Napa Valley Yacht Club is over 50 years old, so it makes it historic. I remember it from the 60s. I don't know if some of you probably do too. Anyway, it was so it's been here quite a while, and this is one of our venues. Our members next month will have their annual membership meeting. So if you're a member, you get to come, and it will be in the Opera House, and it's going to be really special. So I'm looking forward to it. And we have our guest next month will be our moderator will be Shannon Culetto, a historian of the Valley, along with Nancy Brennan, really well-known historian, Mayor Scott Sedgley, and Diane Dillon. So it's going to be a great panel next month talking about the future of history and how we make it come alive. But tonight, we are really excited about what's happening. I met Jen when I first came back to Napa and started working with the Historical Society. She was off boosting paper thing. Anyway,
We stole a rack.
Yeah. For me, I will point that out. No, but she has come and really covered our exhibits, and we are ever so grateful. We together worked with Kevin Courtney, who's here tonight. So thank you, Kevin, on an exhibit, News, the Story of Our Lives. The Historic Society is committed for 5 years to telling stories of people that are not normally just told, or telling them through a different light. So before you leave tonight, please pick up one of our wrap cards. Our next exhibit will open May 11th as we kick off the 75th year of the Historical Society. Yay. Pretty amazing. Anyway, it's going to be called Shouting Down the Wind, and it is about Napa's pioneering women, 200 years of pioneering women from 1830 to today. So it'll be an exciting exhibit. It'll be a lot of fun, and it'll be up for 6 months, and then we will do another exhibit. So, so we're excited. Please become members if you're not. Get you into these things a little less expensively, and it also gets you into the party that we throw every time we open an exhibit. So, and if you want to volunteer, of course, we love volunteers. But Jen, anyway, has helped me with exhibits, and she's just been wonderful. Jen was raised in Santa Rosa. She came to Napa in 1998. She's been a reporter. She's been a business editor. She's been a columnist. She's covered a range of everything, I think, so from baby diapers to, to the next coming. So she's done it all, and she really, I found over the years that I've known her now that we have these great conversations. So, do you remember this? And I don't try to remember, not really good at that maybe all the time, but we have great conversations about what went on here in Napa. And she even writes a column every other Sunday called Surrendering to Motherhood. I thought it was just called Surrendering Motherhood, and I thought that was pretty good.
Just surrendering.
Yeah, I just surrender. Anyway. So without further ado, we're going to start this talk tonight, which you all have come, many of you, because you know Shipyard Acres. I drove my go-kart around Shipyard Acres when I was a kid. It's just it was a place that we all knew, but today no one knows about it. It's the lost suburb. So I'm gonna turn it over to Jen now, and then we're gonna talk about this, a little conversation. I'm gonna ask her some questions.
Hello. Thank you guys so much for coming. I don't do this like ever, so if I seem a little nervous or if I mispronounce something or forget an obvious name, please forgive me. But I wanted to start by saying thank you to Shelley and Kelly and the Historical Society for inviting me to do this because, hey, this is fun actually. And I just have fallen in love with Shipyard Acres and the whole story and the people. And before I start, I wanted to ask if you lived at Shipyard Acres, would you raise your hand? So I just know. Okay, about a good solid half of us.
Right,
Yeah, and then raise your hand also if you knew somebody that lived at Shipyard Acres, like a friend or something.
There we go.
Okay, so,
Oh my gosh, look at that.
okay. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. So thank you so much for coming.
Hold the mic a little closer.
Yeah. So as we all want to know, I mean, how did you get involved in this? What started you on this little quest of yours?
Well, I think it was, I've been at the register for almost 18 years and they're encouraging us to do more in-depth stories and sort of like research things and investigative kind of pieces. And I like history. And it was about a year ago. Do you guys remember when the census, the 1950 census was released? Well, the numbers had been released for a while, but last year, this time, the census released all the actual counting cards, the actual little cards that the census takers carried and wrote on in pencil and pen from 1950. And they went to every house in Napa. And of course, they went to Shipyard Acres. And I saw that on the census release. And I just thought, what, wow. And, why was it just that one little place? What happened? And then I knew that I did know that it was gone. That had been replaced by the cemetery and the executive park. But the neat thing about that census is that it had the names of the kids, it had the ages, it had where they came from, where they were born, it had their a lot of it had their jobs, it even had their income, where they worked. A lot of detail that up to this point was completely unavailable. So I kind of like went down the rabbit hole on that. And then let's see. And then I looked at a map. So if you look at the Google map, Keith Rogan has this. You can look down and I was trying to figure out, well, where was it? Because it's not in the roads today are totally different. So I was looking at the map and I was trying to figure out what goes where. And the only thing I could see was Coral Court. Does anybody live on Coral Court? Coral Court. Okay.
Still there.
So it's still there out in the cemetery. Just the outline of the court. And so it's a little like pinpoint.
It's right up there.
Yeah.
On the map behind you.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Oh, and then Kelly, there's a one that has the map with the circle on it.
You want the map?
Sure. So I could see where it was and what was there now. It kind of just like puzzle pieces were coming together. Yeah, I see the yellow circle. So that was Coral Court. It still is, and that's the old street layout, and the circles, and then that's what's there today behind it, like overlay map. And then is Del Shank here? Del's hiding over there. I got connected with Del Shank, and he said, I might have some things for you. And I went over, and not only did he have some things, he had photos, he had 3 jam-packed wine boxes full of Shipyard Acres information, research, and it was all done by Shirley Ford. And I don't know if Shirley was able to join us. Oh, Shirley's with us. This is so cool. She's with us via Zoom. She's in Auburn. Yeah. So Shirley Ford, she was married to Glenn Ford, who grew up in Shipyard Acres. I don't know if any of you guys remember Glenn Ford, but she married him, and she also became obsessed with Shipyard Acres. Like, what was this? And he talked about it so much. He was so into it. She got into it. And then she did a little survey, and some of you might have filled this out. I know that you did, and I know that Dell did. It was like in 2012, she sent out this survey to all the Shipyard Acres people she could find. And people filled it out and they sent it back. And she had all that stuff and it ended up at Dell's house. And then Dell passed it to me and I opened the box and I was like, oh, it was like the mother load. So once I got all that, I thought I could really write like a series about this, you know, like a bigger thing. And it took me about a year, but that's what it did.
So how long was Shipyard Acres there?
How long? Oh, it was only there for 11 years. You guys know this, right? So people moved in 1943. Anybody here that moved in 1943? Dell. And then I think at 54 was when the last people left. 55. Okay. So 11-ish, 12-ish years. It was a short-lived community and then boom, it was gone. I mean, it just sort of like vanished. And, you know, I love the whole mystery thing and digging around and investigating. So I just got really into it.
So what was there?
What was there? Oh, at the time.
Yeah.
Well, as you guys know, about 400 units, home units, some duplexes and I'm gonna say sixplexes maybe, and then some small cottage kind of homes. Marie, what home did you live in? Was it a single or was it a duplex? A duplex. There are about 400 of those buildings in the end, because they built them in phases. And then about 2,500 people, according to Shirley's research. And Shirley went bananas on the research, by the way. She wrote down everybody that lived there. She did research upon research. She was photocopying all kinds of crazy stuff. She made a whole directory of everybody that lived there, sorted by name and then also sorted by address. So you could cross-reference the whole thing. So it looked pretty complete to me. So that's another part that got me going. Oh, and there was a grocery store. Yeah, remember the grocery store? Okay, I'm looking for pictures of the grocery store. So if anybody has that, keep looking. I would love pictures of the laundromat, laundry facility. Any of the other like administration building, anything like that. At first there were hardly any photos. And then in the end, I started getting more and more house photos. But now I'm looking for other photos, maybe even the water tower or more of the school, not just the kids, you know, in front of the school, but more of the school itself. So anyway, it had everything. It had its own fire truck. I read it was a hand-me-down from maybe the state hospital or somebody. They had their own fire truck, water tower. What else? What am I forgetting? What else did it have?
Post office.
Post office. Yeah.
Do you want to show some of your pictures? Yeah. Where you want to start?
Okay, there's the, this is the only photo I have, the best and only photo I have of this whole, of the whole area. It was 70 acres. So it was quite large. It went all the way, you know, from there to there, you can see. And then there's Coral Court, as was originally, so you can kind of see. So like the executive park is now like on the left side, and the cemetery is kind of like where the Coral, on the Coral Court, like half back that ways. You can see all the like duplexes and fourplexes or whatever they were. And then it had, I guess, a baseball field. I remember reading a lot of stories about people playing the baseball field. Of course, the school. The school was built later. I guess at one point the school was just in one of the houses or in a little unit. And then they built a.
Across the street from the store.
Okay, so the store was over by the school there where it says Kaiser Road, there was a water tower there, and that's kind of like the little admin area, I guess. Although the admin building itself was toward the front. You guys remember that? Okay, well, I have a question about this actually. Do we know, is this the preschool or is this like a daycare center? Does anybody know? Shipyard Acres. I know it was at Shipyard Acres. I think it's a Napa registered photo.
It is.
Yeah, but the kids look little, so I wasn't sure if it was like an early or after school care maybe or something. Anyway, that's inside one of the buildings. And then, oh, this is the census page, one of the census pages. And there's, I don't know how many there are, maybe there's 50 or 60, but, you know, the census taker, as they do today, they walk to every home and said, who lives here? How old are you? You know, and people answer. So this one's just I just grabbed it randomly. This is someone that lives at, 123 Pacific Circle. Anybody here live at Pacific Circle by any chance? Pacific Circle. So are you the Henrys? Okay, so this is the Henry family, 1950, who lived at Shipyard Acres, and it has, it's hard to read the handwriting, but you know, Henry, Amos, Ruth, Tommy, Dell, Jackie, Joey, it has the, you know, who was who, ages, where they were born, which is kind of fun. Kansas, Colorado, Oklahoma. And there are pages and pages of this, all done in that, but written by hand on the actual time. And sometimes there's even little notes like, the neighbors said they weren't home, come back later, you know? And that's kind of cool. It's like, wow, you're this close to an actual conversation with someone from that time who knows that the parents probably are not with us, obviously not with us anymore, but you know, and then what happened then after that? Okay, this is Janice. I don't know if Bauer is her maiden name or Frazier. Anybody know? Frazier's her maiden?
I think so.
Okay, so she was really helpful. She doesn't, I don't think she lives in this area, but she sent me this photo. That's her by her home, and she won that camera selling Napa Register subscriptions or last time I asked or something, and she still has the camera. Yeah, but I love that because there she is with her treasured camera that she still has, and you can see the cars. And does anybody know where this was? I'm not exactly sure, like what street that might have been. I wonder if that's a court. I wonder if that's Coral Court. I'm really looking for photos of Coral Court. Because that, you know, like I said, that street is still there. So, yeah. Thank you, Janice, for sending me that. Oh yeah, here's our kindergartners, 1955.
Like I said.
And do we know who the teacher was for this grade? Does anyone remember?
Mrs. Adams.
Mrs. Adams.
Mrs. Evans.
Okay. And do we know if this was the school that was on the site, or was this when they were, because I know at one point, some of the kids went to the school up on Shirtlift.
Sure, that was Sherwood School, this was Sherwood.
So I haven't quite nailed down exactly what,
They were in
Yeah.
the same district.
okay, so I'm still doing research. I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah, it was here.
Yeah.
Shipyard Acres.
But then at some point, some of the kids from Shipyard Acres went to school at the other,
Fifth and sixth grade.
right? Okay, so I need to get that nailed down.
Third and fourth grade for me.
Thank you, Dell. Mrs. Adams, okay.
She ever smacked you on the wrist with the ruler?
Did anyone get smacked on the wrist by Mrs. Adams? And look how cute these little kids are. Is anybody here that is in that photo? Do we know? Dell, did that come from you? This might be from Dell, and he might be in
I
there.
think the one that says M right there.
Oh, I know. Oh, okay, I'm not sure exactly. Anyway, yeah.
People on the left of that folder.
Kid with the suspenders.
Yeah, I love the outfits. Okay, yeah, here's Barbara Jo Allen. She's in front of Dell Shank's family's home. I believe the car is a 19.
Super deluxe, 41 or 40.
I don't know.
Super deluxe.
Yes.
Black, you should know that. You sold a lot of them.
That's an easy car to jump right there. 'Cause the button is a stretch.
And it was taken in 1948, I know that much. And I would like to know more about the Allen family. I know one of the
Joel.
yeah, I would like to know more about the Allen family. I'd like to connect with them. I haven't quite done that yet. Questions?
Allen family.
Allens. Yay. Make sure that we talk after.
I was married to Mick.
Well, make sure we talk after this, because I want to connect with you guys. Anyway,
Bobby lives in Washington State.
okay, I thought, yeah,
Your sister-in-law, so she can give her a call and. look
Yes,
about the
okay.
pictures and stuff.
yes, that would be fantastic with that Santa. Okay, does anyone remember this Santa? Because that is a little spooky. Some of the kids are not so sure. And so this childcare center, where exactly was this? Do we know? Somewhere on the Shipyard Acres, on the property. I need to figure that out too. It's a lot of questions. Oh, and this is the famous baseball team. Yes. Glenn Forest circled Shirley. Glenn Forest circled there in yellow, and then somebody named all these kids, and even the coaches. I have it written on a separate piece of paper, but someone knows who all these kids are. You're where are you?
I'm top row, second from the right.
Top row, second from the right. Black.
Right there by Mr. Connell.
What position did you play?
Left out.
See, right?
And who are,
Where's your troublemaker twin brother
He's in there.
at? Yeah.
so the big thing was, I guess these guys, they won a big match, and they got a big trophy, right?
We won the championship one year.
The championship. Who has the trophy? Do we know?
That was 5-8. I don't know.
Dell, we'll talk later. There's a trophy out there. I would like to see the trophy. And I'm not sure who this came from, but it's one of the rare photos I have of inside one of the homes. Look at the linoleum or whatever that was. Is this looking familiar?
Yeah.
Do we know who these people are? Anybody?
The Allens.
This is the Allens?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nick, Bobby, and Kenny.
Oh,
Wow.
okay. That's the Allen family.
Nick, Bobby.
Nick, Bobby,
And Kenny.
Penny. Okay. And what was your street address again? I have it in my folder, but
I'm not sure, but I have to
I
ask.
don't think we got.
I do have that. Shirley Ford had all the addresses and all the names. And then I think this other inside shot might also be from the Allens. I'm so glad you came. Is that the Allens too?
Yes.
Okay. And that's little Penny and
Kenny and Bobby.
Penny and Bobby. So this is kind of fun. Look at the TV.
Yeah.
And is it carpet, do you think? Or is it like a throw rug, like a printed? And they weren't very big inside, right? The houses, they were smallish. And then sometimes they would put two together and you could make a bigger house, right? But with 4 bedrooms maybe? I heard that from somebody. Okay, maybe not. So I'm looking for more inside home photos. It's like, just everyday life, kids playing, I don't know, whatever. I don't know if there are a lot out there. I think a lot of the kids are now sort of your generation, late. And their parents might have had a lot of photos. And then when the parents passed away, the kids were charged with, clearing out the houses. And so maybe the photos have been thrown away, maybe passed on. I don't know. Keep looking for photos. I'm dying for video, any film. I have 2 very rare films that were found.
Film, not video.
Right, film. That was from Sandy, yes, Sandy Cobb. And and then other thing guy.
Gary.
Gary.
Yes, Mr. Claus. He came over. He gave me Jerry. He gave me an old home movie of his siblings driving a car around the front of the complex. That sort of like circular part. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Oh, hi. I'm sorry. I'm glad you're here. Mr. Claus.
There we are.
this is fourth grade, 1946. This came from Jerry. Jerry, you brought me this, right?
I'm not sure.
Oh, I thought you were-
No.
Never mind.
I'm very humble.
Okay, so Jerry Kloss did bring me this photo, and he's in there somewhere, and then he named one of the other girls. He seemed to really remember one of the ladies in this photo. Yeah. And do we know who the fourth grade teacher was?
That's Miss Adams too.
Same Mrs. Adams.
Poor thing.
She stuck with you guys. And do we know if this was on Shipyard Acres or was this at the other shirtless school? It was at
Wanda Stevenson.
Wanda.
Very
Oh,
last row with the black hair.
with the black, the bangs?
Wow. Yeah, that's big.
Okay, I think you're the lady that Jerry pointed out to me. Okay, and then, oh, I love this. Shirley should be a girl reporter because Shirley, she was just like so into this. And she just totally adopted it as her own, history project. So she even in 2012, Shirley made Glenn drive her down to Cummings Wharf, where the Shipyard Acres, some of the Shipyard Acres homes had been moved. And she made him drive through there, through this little condemned area that said no trespassing. She did it anyway. And the Shipyard Acres, or the Cummings Wharf guy, I forget his name, he caught her as they were driving through.
Oh, no.
And he stopped her.
This is more.
I think maybe it was. And he said, "Can you read that sign? You shouldn't be coming in here." And she just drove off. But right on, Shirley. Yes. So as you may know, the homes were, they could be bought and then people moved them, and he moved quite a number to this area on Cummings Wharf Road, and later there, by 2012, they had to be condemned. They weren't up to code and all that stuff. But that's one of the ends right there. And then I do hear that there are other families bought these homes, because you could buy them for like $50 or some ridiculous price. And I think Shelley's uncle,
My father.
father has maybe one in his backyard.
No, it's gone.
Oh, it is gone. If you have a Shipyard Acres home in your backyard, please let me know. I would like to go see it. I mean, I remember this, but I wasn't there when that happened. So I haven't actually, oh, and then I heard that there were some Shipyard Acres homes on Adobe Lane, next to the old Adobe. Is this ringing a bell, anyone? Okay, this is what this guy told me, and I forget his name. He was a realtor in town, and he said his colleague, another realtor, bought some of the homes and installed them on Adobe Lane. And I went and I looked, I couldn't really tell, but they might have been like covered up with new facades or something. So I'll be doing more research on that, and if you guys know anything, please let me know about that.
All right, well, so we know where they went. But where did the people go?
Well, as you guys know, moved into other homes in Napa. Your family moved to what neighborhood?
Louisa Street,
The Lady Streets.
Louisa Street, Oklahoma, in 1949.
Okay, 49. So the Lady Streets were a popular destination, what the West Pueblo section of the Lady Street, Lady Main Streets. And then I know Coventry Manor, kind of close to where I live, that was another popular area, like Pickwick and around that area. And is there any other neighborhoods that I should know about where Shipyard Acres people went to after they left? Anything come to mind? Let me know if you.
Westwood?
Okay, Westwood. I was wondering about that.
Double Park.
Pueblo Park, okay, yeah.
Vichy Avenue.
Oh, out to Vichy, okay. So that was another thing, when it was shutting down, some people really wanted to stay to the very end. They didn't want to leave their home. Other people were ready to move on, had the means to buy maybe their first home in Napa. So that started that whole generation of homeownership.
Pretty exciting, really. So very
They all
exciting.
sprinkled throughout Napa and elsewhere.
So is this Napa's only ghost town or only ghost suburb?
No,
Are there other ghost suburbs in Napa? This is it.
no, how about the Chinatown?
over there.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
The Chinatown along the river.
Yes.
And I know there are probably others that I'm not familiar with, but yeah. Mhm. Okay, right.
Silver Trail, there was a Chinese family that had a store on the bottom floor.
The Chans.
By, it's a one lot.
Was it the Chans?
I don't know, but I know that, one of the ladies who moved into Wall Center, her last name was Fong, but her family owned it and then they lived upstairs.
So the store was below.
The store was below, so it's kind of cool history.
I have a question. In terms of the history of Shipyard Acres, were the residents, mostly men, in the Navy or worked at Mare Island, or how was this shaped?
I'm still working on that, but from what I know, a lot of them worked at Basalt,
At Basalt?
also
Mare-
Mare Island,
Mare Island.
And the airport.
and the airport.
And the community was built
It
for?
was built, it was meant to be a temporary, it was always meant to be temporary for these war workers to help build the
Okay.
ships and support the war effort of World War II, I'm sorry, I should have said that.
But Jennifer, as it got older, like in the 50s, like Sandy's family moved in and they were not connected. to
Yeah,
the Mare Island.
It became more of like entry-level housing for newcomers,
Right.
but it wasn't ever planned to be permanent.
Right.
So it wasn't kept up, and in the end, the city decided to just take it all down.
They were kept up too. They were kept up. They painted them every year or two.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
like kept
They
maintenance,
had a regular maintenance somewhat.
yes, I remember hearing about that.
There's always a way in the back. Yes.
Do you know how it got its name?
I think that was a government thing.
Yeah.
That's a great question.
The shipyard.
Well, yeah, we can imagine because it was a shipyard, but I think, no, I know, originally it was supposed to be called Victory Acres. You guys remember that, Victory Acres, and then somehow it got changed to Shipyard Acres, maybe Basalt. Maybe the Basalt people wanted it to be more like shipyard.
This president questions, who actually built them? I mean, did Mr. Streblo or was it?
It was a contractor, I have the name in my notes, but that's the other thing in the newspaper, I would find little items about who was awarded the contract to build different sections of units. It wasn't always the same person. But it was administered by what today we think of as the Napa Housing Authority, and then FHA.
So was it basalt land or city?
It was kind of, I don't know how to describe that. It's kind of like it's kind of like yeah, it was sort of like unincorporated Napa County land, sort of. And so the county and Basalt worked out a deal. I'm a little hazy on those details.
I think it became part of the city of Napa as an island.
It was incorporated. Okay.
Well, I don't know if it's incorporated, but I think it was thought of.
Yeah.
as a
I don't know everything about it, so I'm still hoping to learn more.
Were any of these owner occupied or were they all tenants of like the
Yeah.
government housing?
They were all tenants,
Okay.
as far as I know, they were all tenants, and I even have some receipts from the Allens
Oh, wow.
that shows how much they paid per month. I think it was like $37. Yeah, and then maybe one was $35. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We moved out in 55, my dad was paying $86 a month. for a
$86.
For a
Yeah.
3-bedroom, all your children stay.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, try to find that now.
That was the other thing that got me into this, was that I just can't imagine that much affordable housing being taken down in Napa today. We're so desperate for affordable entry-level housing that even if it was in bad shape, I just think I would just imagine that the city folks or county folks would try to preserve that in some way or build up or something, I don't know, but the thought of it being just taken away like that is really surprising to me as a person living now.
I think there's a comment.
An interesting follow-up might be for you to look at the Glenwood Gardens area
Okay.
and the Alphabet Streets, which is where I live
Yes.
now. They were built in 52
Okay.
out of basalt cinder block. There's 54 houses
Oh,
and
oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about, yeah.
and they're almost all, I think there's one that's been modified, maybe two, over the last 70 years.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if some of those Shipyard Acres folks were able to
Yes.
buy their first home there.
Yeah, I bet you they were.
Because they're like 1,100, I live in one,
Yeah.
it's like 1,100 square feet, one bathroom,
Mhm.
3 beds, so,
Yes,
um,
I know the neighborhood,
yeah.
yeah.
You know, the same thing needs to happen to the city of Monticello. Somebody needs to go into
Yeah.
the city of Monticello, which is underneath Lake Berryessa. It crossed over the 2 counties. It's really almost on a county line. It'd be interesting to have the same kind of research done, because I'm sure there's a group of people just like you all
Yeah.
that knew Monticello at the time.
Questions?
If there was always meant to be a temporary community, was there like a set, like, end date? Or
I
was it just
don't-
kind of-
No,
They
I don't
usually
know.
get, this is a phenomena of the 1930s and the 1940s. Oh, sorry. This is it's a remnant, this is a phenomena of the 1930s and 1940s. So during the Great Depression, the WPA built houses all over the country. They were only meant to be, live this long, it's maybe a decade, not anymore. And Shipyard Acres is one of those versus Monticello, which was a real town and had a graveyard. These communities that were built to be, you know, worker communities, basically. They really came out of the WPA era thinking that Work Program Act. And so, you know, they were built, there was communities in Miami, communities all over California like that, some out in the desert. They were just never meant to be. There's even some in the Caribbean that are, you know, just, they stood longer than they ever were meant to stand. The last question. She's asking for these things for a reason, because there's a lot of pressure on her to
Write a book.
Shelley said I should write a book.
So, if any of you, we have thanks to Shirley, Shirley has donated her whole collection to the Historical Society. So it will be kept in perpetuity, and we hope to, over time, scan everything and get that all done, so it's digitally searchable. And so if you have any photographs, even if you don't really want to give them up yet, if you bring them in or you scan them yourselves and you send us a copy of them, we would really like that, and it will help us push her further to write her book.
Sandy brought this copy of photos for me tonight. Sandy and I were joking about the pony, because apparently a pony would come around, you could get your picture taken with a pony.
I've got one with my two.
I still got
Oh,
mine.
There you
So this
go.
was probably a big deal at the time. I mean, like, I didn't have a pony come around my neighborhood when I was a kid. So that's pretty cool, you know, to have that, to still have that and more house pictures. So even if you think it's nothing, maybe it could be useful for what I'm trying to do.
Right, and it just adds the context,
Yeah.
so all of you, you know, we have many photographs in our collection, we have, right now, we have digitized about 20,000.
Oh my God.
Wow.
When we finish the registers collection, we'll have over 45,000. So these are really important if you can come in and say, this was me, or this was my brother, or this was my neighbor, so and so. That helps us build this contextual story, rich story, nuanced story, you know, to the point, got to ride on a pony. So, and all where the school was, who went where, Mrs. Adams, thank you for telling us that. All that, we had a call from Lori Ryder today, her brother and sister-in-law ran the grocery store.
Oh, I need to talk to them.
Yeah, so
I do.
these things are coming out, so please, if you have this information or any information about Napa, we are collecting, and And then I just want to thank everybody. First of all, the wineries of Shipyard Acres. How cool is that? All the people on Zoom.
Hey.
This is
Especially Shirley.
thank you, Shirley.
Shirley, I wish I could meet you in person soon.
Yeah, so thank you, and thank you all for coming tonight and sharing this with us and making it such a special night.
Thank you.
Exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you.